Here comes Rachel. And the important thing about this here is coming Rachel is we'll see, is this by chance or again, is this God? Oh, I'm reading these things and it's so interesting to see how things are happening. And it looked like everything is by chance, but we have to understand that when God is in something, nothing is by chance. So we read here in Genesis chapter 29, and I will read for you from verses 1 to 6. Genesis 29, I read verses 1 to 6. It said, Then Jacob continued on his journey. This is after Bethel, after he had the dream, after he take the pillar, the stone, and put it in a place so that the house of God can be built there, after he got up in the morning, after he realized that God was in this place, and after he called it Bethel. So the Jacob continued on his journey and came to the land of the eastern people. There he saw a well in the field, and their flocks of sheep lay near it because the flocks were watered from that well. The stone over the mouth of the well was large. When all the flocks were gathered there, the shepherds would roll the stone away from the well's mouth and water the sheep. Then they would return the stone to its place over the mouth of the well. Straightforward lesson how things work. Then verse 4, Jacob asked the shepherd. Now Jacob now is getting to the place where now his mother and his father sent him to his uncle Laban. And now he is in this city. Now he's in this countryside. Now he's asking. You see the shepherds and he's asking questions because he is going somewhere. This is the thing that we always must remember. We must be always on our Father's business. We are always going somewhere. We must never just be idle wandering all over the place because that will cause more problems for us. Our lives will have no meaning. So Jacob was heading somewhere and he inquired because he wanted to make sure he was in the right place. He asked a question in verse 4. Jacob asked the shepherd, My brothers, where are you from? We are from Haran, 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 they replied. He said to them, Do you know Laban, Nahor's grandson? Yes, we know him, they answered. Then Jacob asked them, Is he well? Yes, he is, they said. And here comes his daughter Rachel with the sheep. Now that is so powerful. Here is Jacob. Sometimes you try to wonder about this God we serve. God was, even with the mess that Jacob was doing, God still, remember what we said, God's blessing or God's gift and his calling in our lives, they are irrevocable. And what he's saying is they're irrevocable even with our mistakes and our failures. They're irrevocable. God is always going to come through for us when we are on his mission, when we are living our purpose, when we are moving in the direction he desires for us. He will always come through because his calling in our lives and the blessings and the purpose, they're irrevocable. Even though we have failed and even though we have mistakes, those callings and the favor in our lives, they're there still. See, if we would remember that, when we make mistakes and failures, we don't let them get the better of us. We confess and we continue to trust God to guide us. We don't sit back and say this is too much. Well, how could I make that? God didn't love me no more. God don't care about me. No. His callings in your life and his purpose in your life, in my life, is irrevocable. Even though we may have failures and we may make mistakes. Because there's nobody on this earth who don't have failures and don't have mistakes. Everyone has. And God knows all about that. And that's why he sent his son. And so it's important for us to understand this. Here comes Rebecca. I mean, just like that. But I don't believe it's just like that. God is always in the mix. Remember some time ago, about a week ago, we did, it was God and God alone. In other words, every door that was opening, it was about God. Here's here is Sarah barren. Here is Abraham 99 years old, Sarah 89 years old. Here is Rebecca barren. Yet they have children. It's God and God alone. And even here, just as Jacob arrived at this place, Rachel showed up. Look, he said, the sun is still high. That's verse 7. It is not time for the flock to be gathered. Water the sheep and take them back to the pasture. We can't, they replied, until all the flocks are gathered and the stone has been rolled away from the mouth of the well. Then we will water the sheep. This is so important to understand. Very, very important. God never does things or allow things to happen just for them to happen. There is always a blessing in what God allows. I said it again. There is always a blessing in what God allows. We may not see it up front. We may not understand it up front. We may not recognize what God is doing, but there is always a blessing in what God allows. In verse 9 it said, while he was still talking with them, Rachel came with her father's sheep, for she was a shepherdess. When Jacob saw Rachel, daughter of Laban, his mother's brother, and Laban's sheep, he went over and rolled the stone away from the mouth of the well and watered her uncle's sheep. So Jacob became excited. He recognized he had gotten to the place where his mother and his father asked him to go. In other words, he recognized that God, when he was sleeping and had that dream, God was true to him. God said, I'll take care of you. I'll protect you. I'll be with you. And I'll bring you back. In other words, you're going. And you will go there for a while. When you're finished what you're supposed to do there, I will bring you back. And here Jacob is now arriving at this place, not worried anymore. Because God is saying, I will bring you back, which suggests he has to go there. That's where he has to be. And in due time, God is saying, I will bring you back. So he can go there and rejoice because he knows he wouldn't live there forever. He also knows that God is on his side. And this is why I want us to always remember, God is always in the business of blessing. And whatever he does, it may be sometimes a little tough for us. It may be difficult for us. We may feel it. But the objective is to change us. It's to help us to become more like him. Everything we go through, the rough road, the tough ride. But when we look at the end of it, it's about a good God. Always getting us to a place where we can serve him the way we ought to, where we can enjoy life even greater. And so right now, we see Laban, daughter, Rachel, showing up. And Jacob is overjoyed. Let's read on and see what he said. Verse 11. Then Jacob kissed Rachel and began to weep aloud. Again, he was overjoyed because God had given him success in his journey. Yes. God had brought him through the ups and downs. God had taken him from the pain and the problems that his brother was trying to inflict on him. God had brought him to a place where he can feel comfortable. God had brought him out of the mess and into a better situation as in the beginning, so he thought. As he looked at it, he had arrived at a place where his parents believed he would enjoy life, where God's name will be glorified and continue to be glorified in his life. And Jacob was so excited when he recognized Rachel. He kissed her and he wept aloud. I have arrived. God has blessed me on my journey. He has kept me on this journey. He has given me success on my way. And he promised to take me back when it's all over here. But that is a beautiful thing. He was so happy to be home, his second home. He rolled away the stone, watered the sheep of his uncle. His excitement was so great that he kissed Rachel and wept aloud. But the thing is, he didn't stop there. He didn't stop there. And the Bible tells us in verse, let's look at verse, we just read verse 10. Verse 11 again. Then Jacob kissed Rachel and began to weep aloud. In verse 12, he said, he had told Rachel that he was a relative of her father and a son of Rebekah. So she ran and told her father. So the excitement is building here. God is in the works. He's bringing them to a place where they would accept one another. I want you to get this now. Get this. You see, many times the family comes by, but there's no excitement about the family coming. We don't really want them to stay here. You know, when we look at life, sometimes that's how life is. We'll accept them here, but we really don't want them here. Here in this story, we look at it, we see where Rachel was so excited. Jacob was excited. He cried because he had met his family. He had completed his journey. God had blessed him on his journey. He was safe on his journey, and he had reached Laban's house, or at least his village. And now here comes Rachel running to tell Laban all about what had happened. As soon as Laban heard, in verse 13, the news about Jacob, his sister's son, he hurried to meet him. He embraced him and kissed him and brought him to his home. And there Jacob told him all those things. So here we see it. Now, sometimes you wonder, did they have a phone to connect each other? I don't believe that. Rachel just sent Jacob, you go. And when Jacob got there, who he was the most important thing. This is my sister's son. He's welcome here. His journey ended here. God brought him safely. God spoke to him on the way. He had an encounter with God. And now he'll be having an encounter with his uncle and the family. Awesome, awesome, awesome provision that God has made. In verse 14 it says, then Laban said to him, you are my own flesh and blood. And after Jacob had stayed with him for a whole month, Laban said to him, just because you are a relative of mine, should you work for me for nothing? Tell me what your wages should be. So again, God is opening a door again for Jacob. I know, when we look at life as, okay, I'm doing this, or you are doing this, or this is just happening. You know, there's nothing about God. I want us to remember and to realize this story about the life of Joseph, coming from all even from Abraham and Sarai, all the way to where Joseph died. This story is opening up some avenues for us to truly realize that nothing ever happens by chance. It's not just something happening. No, it's just not we living today and okay, these things normally happen. No. God is in the mix in all of these. It says it's God and God alone. When we go back to when Rebecca had the twins and they were jostling in her womb, and she asked God, what is this? God simply said, 2 nations are in your womb, and the older will serve the younger. So God was opening up a nation, children of Israel, a nation. He didn't tell them what it was, but he was opening up a nation. And Esau, with the Edomites, will serve Israel. With Jacob, God knows how to. And by election, he does it. But not because God chooses us by election, I said the last time, means we will be immune from the problems of life. No, we will still go through the problems of life. We are living here, and we trust God to guide us through it, even though we were chosen by God by election. So here we see again that Laban is saying, hey, I'm going to pay you to work for me. What is it you want? How much you want? Tell me what your wages should be. But there's a beautiful thing here about Jacob. Jacob did something here that was even awesome. In verse, as he said, as a relative, and we ask the questions ourselves. As a relative, should one work for free? Because I'm working with you, and we are relatives, should I work for free? Or even if I'm living by you, how do you handle that question? You have a business. And there's so much little things in here, tips for us to really truly get and how we live our lives, today. You're living with me, but you're working for me in the business. Should you work for free? Should I make you work for free? Or should you be paid for what God has given you, the gifts that you have? How does that work? Yeah, so that's something for us to think about. We're not going to discuss that part now. So Laban said to him, tell me what your wages should be. Now here comes Leah and Rachel, Laban's two daughters. Remember, Leah, the older, had weak eyes. Rachel, the younger, was lovely in form and beautiful. So you see it and you realize God is putting things together. What should your wages be? There is no answer yet, but the Bible tells us, interject here, that Laban had two daughters just after he asked what your wages should be. Tell me what your wages should be. And in verse 16, the Bible never said it immediately. But what the Bible did is God brought these two ladies out so that Jacob could see them. Now, Laban had two daughters. The name of the older was Leah, and the name of the younger was Rachel. 17, Leah had weak eyes, but Rachel was lovely in form and beautiful. In other words, her body had good shape and everything else. And her face looked good, and the whole works. Leah had everything going for her. Rachel, everything going for her. She would captivate any man. And Leah, on the other hand, because of that little defect, weak eyes, as they call it, she was not considered as a beautiful person. The Bible doesn't say something just to say it. Please let us remember that. It says Rachel was lovely in form. That's how she looked. Her body, in her clothes. And she was beautiful. That's her facial expression and her attitude. Beautiful. And Jacob now, this is why the Bible put things, and when we need to see why the Bible put these things, they're not just there to be there. Now Jacob, he was there for more than a month now, was in love with Rachel. So while he was there, he saw her day in and day out, and he fell for her. That's why the Bible put the things in there for us to really understand what's going on. And Jacob said, I'll work for you 7 years. But he didn't give a price yet. See, Jacob didn't determine to work, and let me put it this way. Jacob determined to work not for sheep, not for cattle, not for finances. That was not what he wanted. He saw something or someone that made a difference in his life. He was willing to work for the beautiful Rachel. And he said, I will work 7 years in return for your younger daughter, Rachel. 7 years. Jacob was not concerned about sheep or oxen or cattle or any of that. Jacob's concern was Rachel. We need to pay attention to love, what love can do to us. See, sometimes love can lead us down a road that is very, very, very hurtful, harming, destructive. Because when we love, somehow we can't see anything else. Nothing else seems to make sense. Nothing else seems to be worth it in our lives. Because when we are loved, we want to follow our heart. Sometimes you have to be careful with that. Because when you follow your heart, you throw sometimes common sense out the window. So it's important. Jacob, recognizing how beautiful and how formally Rachel was, decided, I want to work 7 years, but I'm working for her. Now, I don't know if I work 7 years for a woman. I mean, you got to pay me, and then I can say, well, I love her too. So I'll get the payment and I'll get her. Jacob wasn't interested in the payment. Probably he left that to God. But his interest was in Rachel, how beautiful she was and how formally she was. Leah, that wasn't important to her. She wasn't important to him. So for 7 years, and that's a long time, 7 has to do with complete. So he would complete what he's doing so that he can have her. That's what it's saying. So in other words, I don't owe you anything more. I have completed my task, my journey, my work, my process. I've completed everything. Now give me my wages. Complete. 7, complete. Laban said, it's better that in verse 19, I gave her to you than to some other man. Stay here with me. So Jacob served 7 years to get Rachel. Tell you what's love? Because what love will do. But they seem like only a few days to him because of his love for her. Don't mess with love. When we are in love, you use the word in love, we will do whatever it takes to accomplish the goal that we are looking at. The Bible said it seemed like just a few days because all his focus was on was Rachel and having Rachel to be his wife. Nothing else mattered. That's why the work seems like just a few days because the work didn't matter. What mattered was Rachel. Every day seeing Rachel. Every day hoping one day that she and I will be married. Every day looking at this beautiful lady as she passed by, as I passed by. Nothing made any difference to him but Rachel. I can imagine dreaming about her at night when you go to bed. Get up in the morning thinking about her. Going through the day thinking about her. So no task seems so difficult because I know at the end of this day is one day less for me to work for my wife. Watch love. Be careful with love. Loving the wrong person will create some major issues in our lives. That's how powerful love is. So we must remember this. Let me just mention this quickly. We hurt in relationships and we heal in relationships. So when we get into a relationship, the possibility is we will hurt. Something will happen, we will hurt. Because we only hurt in relationships, nowhere else. And the only place we heal is also in relationships. In other words, we need people to hurt us. If there are no people, we don't get hurt. If there are no people, we'll never get healed. So we need people in both situations. But we have to be careful because love will cause us to do some things that under normal conditions we won't do. And Jacob is here, and the Bible said that, hey, it seemed like a few days, 7 years, it seemed like a few days. So what we have to remember is to trust. Trust is at the heart of every significant relationship. Without trust, relationships deteriorate tremendously, and we are hurt tremendously without trust. If I can't trust you, our relationship will never function. So therefore, if I can't trust you, I should never be in a relationship with you. Proverbs 3 and 5 tells us, trust in the Lord with all your heart and lean not on your own understanding. The relationship with God is built on trust. The relationship with you, with me, with all of us, husbands and wives, children, is built on trust. When we lose that trust, the relationship deteriorates. We have problems facing the other person. We have problems thinking about them. We have problems wondering where they are. We have problems thinking that they're doing things that they ought not to do. We have problems when we can't trust. That's why any relationship where trust is broken is a hurtful relationship. Jacob trusted Laban to give him his wages. You and I, we trust the employer to give us our wages at the end of the week or the 2 weeks. Those of us who have businesses, those who work for us, trust us to return what is due them at the end of the 2 weeks or a week or a month. When that trust is broken, the relationship is broken and it deteriorates. Laban said, it is better in verses 14 to 19. This is something I just want us to remember. From verse 14 through 19. Then Laban said to him, you are my own flesh and blood. After Jacob had stayed with him for a few new months, Laban said to him, just because you are a relative of mine, should you work for nothing? Tell me what your wages are. Now Laban had 2 daughters. The name of the older was Leah, and the name of the younger Rachel. Leah was weak-eyed, but Rachel was lovely in form and beautiful. Jacob was in love with Rachel and said, I'll work for you 7 years in return for your younger daughter Rachel. Laban said, it's better that I give her to you than to some other man. Stay here with me. So Jacob served 7 years to get Rachel, but they seemed like only a few days to him because of his love for her. I said all of that just to repeat that to you. Verse 21, then Jacob said to Laban, give me my wife. My time is complete, and I want to lie with her. Give me my wife. I said 7 years. Complete. That's what 7 refers to. Number of completion. I have completed the task. When God created the world, he was finished. He said it was very good. He was completed his creation work there. And so Jacob said, I'm going to complete this. And when I've completed it, I want you to give me my wife. So my question as we look at this, deception or not? What am I talking about? Well, Jacob said, give me my wife. My time is complete, and I want to lie with her. Deception or not? Verse 22, that's what I'm talking about. So Laban brought together all the people of the place and gave a feast. But when evening came, he took his daughter Leah and gave her to Jacob. And Jacob lay with her. And Laban gave his servant girl Zilpah to his daughter as her maid servant. Rachel, I worked 7 years for Rachel and I've completed it. Now Laban, I'm not interested in Leah. Leah is not important to me. Leah is not beautiful. She doesn't have a nice form body. Leah doesn't look the way I want a woman to look. Leah doesn't have what I'm looking for in Rachel. Leah is not mine. But Laban, oh, Laban, I'm saying, is this deception or not? And you always must remember, your life is the result of your choices. You must always remember that. Our life is the result of our choices. Because we are the sum total of all the decisions that we have made. All of it. So, looking at Jacob, the choices that he and his mother made brought him there. And the choice he made for Rachel is opening up now. Let's read quickly here. In verse, so Laban said, it is better I gave her, okay, verse 22. So Laban brought together all the people of the place and gave a feast. But when evening came, he took his daughter Leah and gave her to Jacob, and Jacob lay with her. And Laban gave the servant girl. I wonder sometimes, um, her face was covered up at night, but he didn't realize the difference. I often think about that. Because the only thing I can say is, again, is watch God. Watch God. You this one, and it's the same one God brought into your life. That's the only reason I can give here. Because how come you didn't know the difference between the two of them? You have seen them all the time, unless you can see anything at night. But again, we have to see God working in bringing about the nation he's looking for. God bringing about that which is necessary to carry out his purpose in life. We have to always remember that. See, we can't explain it all. But what we understand is God is in control of it all. Verse 25, when morning came, there was Leah. So Jacob said to Laban, what is this you have done to me? Deception again. Yeah. Yeah. What is this you have done to me? I served you for Rachel, didn't I? Why have you deceived me? See, Jacob did a lot of deception in his earlier days. Now he's at a place where he's no longer in control, where he's no longer able to call the shots. And God is allowing whatever is happening to him to train him, to improve him, to cause him to recognize his life and to recognize the God that he is serving. Laban replied in verse 26, it is not our custom here to give the younger daughter in marriage before the older one. Now, this doesn't make sense to me. But again, I am not the one. This is God. Because when Jacob asked for Leah in marriage, for Rachel in marriage, why didn't Laban say, hey, I know you're going to work for 7 years, but if Leah is not married yet, you'll have to marry her first. Because we don't give the younger before the older. Why didn't he say that? But he didn't. There's a lot of deception taking place in this entire family. Dysfunction all over. But God, again, because of his call and his purpose in our lives, it is irrevocable. And whatever happens, God is using all of it to bring about what he needs in the world. You must remember that. Your life is the same thing. My life is the same thing. God is using all of us. And even though we may not always follow what he says, he still blesses us when we carry out his purpose and when we carry out the purpose for which he has called us. And what happens is all of it put together bring about what he's looking for in this world. Even with the leaders that are in power. So let's look at this quickly, this one part here again. Then verse 27, finish this daughter's bridal week. So Laban is saying, stay with her, lay with her, enjoy your life with her for this whole week. Complete it. Then we will give you the younger one also in return for another 7 years of work. So Laban is saying, you can work 14 years for the one you really love. And Jacob did so. He finished the week with Leah, and then Laban gave him his daughter Rachel to be his wife. So he had 2 wives immediately, 1 week apart. Laban gave his servant girl Bilhah to his daughter Rachel and her maidservant, as her maidservant. Jacob lay with Rachel also, and he loved Rachel more than Leah, and he worked for Laban another 7 years. I just want us to get that. I'm going to stop there tonight because I really want us to see that God is always in the mix. God is always in the mix. And when we understand that, we will realize that we are not in control. And we'll see things happening. And we would never be able, if we try to figure it out, we'll never be able to figure it out because God is in control. Our custom is to give the older in marriage before giving the younger. But here is the thing as I close. Permitting some things to remain broken does not make your life easier, happier, or better. So fix it. So what did Jacob do? Jacob fixed it. Hey, he said, no. We don't give the younger before the older. Broken. I asked for the younger. But you are saying, no, I can't have her. The older must go first. So do I wait for Leah to get married somewhere with somebody else? Or do I fix it so I can get Rachel? And Jacob decided to fix it. He spent that week with Rachel, with Leah, fulfilling her marriage week. And then he accepted Rachel and he worked another 7 years after that. 14 years. He fixed it. Permitting something to remain broken does not make your life easier, happier, or better. So fix it. Whatever is going on in my life, whatever is going on in your life, if it's broken, if it's not functioning the way it should be, whether it's a husband, a child, a job situation, a home, a car, whatever it is, whatever seems to be broken, that doesn't work the way it should. Your life is not at the church, the programs at the church, the position, the program, the offices, whatever it is. If it's not working properly, it doesn't make your life easier. It doesn't make you happier. It doesn't make the situation better. Let's just fix it. Give God a chance to work through it. Look at Jacob. 7 more years. He fixed it because he realized it was broken. What he wanted, he didn't get, but it was offered. And to fix it, he had to work another 7 years, even though he got them right away. He still worked another. So he worked for the 7 years because he knew what he wanted. And I'm saying to all of us in our homes, let's fix it. Let's fix it. Finally, here is this statement that we all need to hold into ourselves. You will never possess what you're unwilling to pursue. You will never possess what you're unwilling to pursue. Jacob wanted to possess Rachel, and he was willing to work 14 years for her. What do you want? What are you asking God for? What are you looking out for? Are you willing to pursue it? Giving God the opportunity, the God who does immeasurably more than we could ever think, ask, or even desire? Are you willing to trust him to that extent? Am I willing to trust him to that extent? If I'm not willing to pursue whatever it is, giving God the chance to guide me and direct me, I will never be able to possess it. Finally, I say it again. You will never possess what you're unwilling to pursue. Father, we give you thanks again for working with us this evening, this morning, and for giving us insights into your word. Thank you for this story, this chapter of the story, realizing, dear Lord, that deception comes in all over, and that we have to be willing to trust you to bring us safely through them all. When things are not working in our homes, help us to trust you to help us to come to you, and help us to do those things that are necessary to fix the stuff in our homes so that we can truly, truly enjoy what you want for us. We want to possess happiness, joy, peace in our homes. We want to serve you, want to live for you. And if anything is broken in our relationships, may we, by your grace, fix it, either by counseling, by your word, by prayer, whatever is necessary, may we fix it, dear Lord, and may your name be glorified in it. Thank you for helping us to understand that there may be dysfunction in our homes, but when we trust you, you're able to bring us through. You're always there for us. You promise never to leave us nor forsake us, and we are holding on to that promise, knowing, dear Lord, that we will get where we need to at the time we need to, when we give you the opportunity to lead us and to guide us. Thank you for hearing us. And as we prepare for a beautiful Sabbath, those on the east, dear Lord, who are already enjoying the day and getting ready for church, and those of us here who are getting ready to go to bed, preparing to get up to worship you tomorrow, may your name be glorified in all that we say and all that we do, I pray, in your Son's holy name. Amen and amen.
Amen.